And we did have interviews. Interviews have been conducted. Interviews have taken place. The season's not over, and we're already talking to people. Of course, we're only talking to people who are not currently working, obviously, so they're not under contract, not to be interviewed. So what that means, if you're saying, well, what does that mean? What's your point of saying that? It's that you have to understand that we have not even begun to scratch the surface, most likely. We're just getting started talking to some people like Ron Rivera, who is not under contract, so he's not restricted, and it's not, you're allowed to talk to him. So, what's going on, Todd? Todd is here. Always the first one in now. So Ron Rivera probably an Andy Rooney checkbox interview. Some people are saying. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting interview. 13 years of head coaching experience. He's been to the playoffs 5 of those 13 years. It's funny when Jet fans say, well, he's only been to the playoffs in 5 of the 13 years. It's so funny how we are. We haven't been to the playoffs in 14 years. And we sit there and we criticize people. He's only been to the Super Bowl once and he lost. And he's only been to the playoffs 5 times. He's trash. We've never had a coach take us to the playoffs 5 times. It's so funny. But you know what? The reality is I mean, when you're trying to win a Super Bowl and you're looking for the best coach out there, you're going to compare resumes, or you're going to compare it to the potential of an untapped young coordinator who seems to be what you believe might be the future of the NFL and coaching. So I understand the hesitance. I also understand that, if we're being realistic, Ron Rivera is probably not a guy. Let's face it. It feels like one of those hires where it's not really going to be permanent. Does it feel like Ron Rivera, if you hired him, is going to be the coach here for the next 15 years? And as much as we've never had that, that might sound unrealistic. It is the goal, isn't it? Isn't it the goal to find stability? Isn't it the goal? The goal isn't what every team wants. If you find a really great coach, like Seattle had Pete Carroll for a long time. The Niners seem to be having a long run with Shanahan. Pittsburgh has had the same coach for 15 to 17 years now with Tomlin. Jim Harbaugh for Baltimore. I mean, it's kind of, Belichick was in New England forever. They won 7 Super Bowls. It's kind of a good thing. It's kind of a good thing to have a coach for a really long time. It means a sustained winning organization that goes to the playoffs, that, once in a while might actually make it to the Super Bowl. It's something that we've never had. I've never experienced it for the Jets. I mean, it's always just in and outs, like even our great coaches like Parcells. He's here for a few years, he gets bored. Yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Dallas or whatever, Miami and then Dallas. And it just seems that we can never just have that lifer, you know what I mean? Where we could have for a good 15 years of just a long run of a solid coach, a coach that maybe takes over when he's 54, 55 years old, retires at 70, that kind of thing. So you get 15 years of competency, of not being embarrassed, a coach that makes you a competitor every year. I mean, it would be nice. Um, I don't think that Ron Rivera, oh, hello, niece Leah. I don't think that Ron Rivera would be a guy. I don't know if he has cancer. I see Todd saying. I just know that even if he was still young and healthy, he just hasn't lasted on other teams. I just don't see it. What is he, a 3 to 4 year fix? I mean, is there such a thing? I mean, we gotta. I mean, it just doesn't. We gotta stop talking to guys that aren't real solutions. These in and out guys. He's gonna come in for a few years and maybe give us a chance. No, we took a shot with Robert Saleh. It's unfortunate. He made us a great defensive. He was missing some key components to his skill set as a coach. Otherwise, he was the perfect age. He could have been a guy that could have been the coach for 15 years, right? He could have been that 20 years, which would be great if, unfortunately, he was a weak leader, didn't hold guys accountable, didn't, he's a coordinator. He wasn't meant to be a head coach. So we have to find the guy that is meant to be a head coach. That's why people are saying Gruden. I don't know how long Gruden would be the coach. I mean, maybe five. He got 5 years in him, 6 years in him. He's going to start getting old. Um, but who fits the bill? You know who fits the bill for me? A guy like Mike Vrabel. He's had a job, has a bunch of years of coaching experience, has a bunch of winning. Never had a quarterback yet. Went deep in the playoffs. Disciplinary, a disciplined guy, kind of like reminds me of Tomlin, kind of guy that's going to take over the locker room. We're not going to have to deal with the nonsense and the crap. Any player does that nonsense and crap, he's going to just send them off packing. Make sure that it's very well known that if you want to play for the team, you're going to do it. You're going to, you're going to keep your mouth shut, and you're going to be professional, and you're going to hold yourself professionally. Salah had a really like to talk a big game. Character, character, character. Salah was the worst at bringing in players with character. They didn't back up anything that they said. JD and Salah, they were full of crap. They were malarkey, a bunch of just talk. Character, ballers, guys who want to play. And then they brought in the trash that we saw. These selfish players who can't keep their mouths shut, who complain and they whine. I hate that. I hate that. I can't stand that. Let's go out and get a player who sits out half the season for no reason. I mean, this stupid. Was Hassan Reddick a character guy? I mean, we just completely contradicted everything we say as Jeff as the organization. But you get me a real coach who doesn't just talk the nonsense about character, but actually brings in real guys. Now, you're not getting Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's not getting anywhere. Garrett Wilson is not one of those guys I'm talking about. That's called you're being brainwashed by the media. Because Garrett Wilson has made no indication, except for people who want to read into things, that he's been anything other than a great professional, and that's what he is. And the only way we're parting with Garrett Wilson is if you give us the like a trade haul that would make you cry. Like you're going to be giving up first round picks, two first rounders, two second round. Like you're going to have to give us the most disgusting bag of trades if you ever dreamed of having Garrett Wilson on your team. I'll take your coach though. Garrett Wilson for your first round pick and your coach. I'll do that in a heartbeat. But that's neither here nor there, and you wouldn't do that. So, because a great coach is more valuable than any player, unless you're talking about like a lifetime franchise quarterback, like a great one. Anyway, here we are. Ron Rivera. He actually had Ron Rivera had a month in San Diego when they were in San Diego. He was there for like I think a month, and then they shipped him off or whatever. He went down there very, very, very briefly, and then whoever took over didn't like him or something, and they kind of shipped him away. Kind of a weird thing. San Diego did a lot of weird things. We're not, in the early 2000s, 1990, I think it was like 2000 and up or whatever. The Chargers were built to win Super Bowls, and then their stupid owner got into, and their general manager had like this pride thing, like this ego, and they let Schottenheimer go, and they burned their chances of Super Bowl. Schottenheimer would have won two Super Bowls with them. He went 12-4, lost to the New England Bill Belichick, Tom Brady Patriots because of like a turnover and a bad call on an interception or something like that, and they fired him. And the Chargers deserved everything they got after that. They deserved to not win a Super Bowl. They deserved it. They deserved it. They did not deserve to have a Super Bowl because of how stupid they were to get rid of such a great coach in Schottenheimer and not appreciate this incredible coach that changed their organization around. It was unbelievable, and they're so stupid, and they deserve everything they get. They deserve all these years without a Super Bowl Lombardi trophy because they would have had it. And I was rooting for it after the Jets. Like, after the Jets, I was happy to see the Chargers win. I would have loved it. They were such a likable team. I loved Tomlinson, LT. They ended up being a Jet. I love that team. They were like this great, incredible team. They went from Drew Brees to Philip Rivers. I mean, you couldn't go wrong. And what did they do? They got rid of they got rid of him and they hired Norv Turner, which may have been the worst coaching hire in the history of the NFL. Let's take a proven loser, a bum, a guy who did nothing for Washington and nothing for the Raiders but made them worse. And let's bring him here so he can destroy the Chargers. Horrible, horrible, horrible thing. If I was a Charger fan, I wouldn't go talk trash on anybody else's site to any other types of fans just because of the humiliation of what that stupid ownership did. But yet, the Chargers have been great over the years at drafting and maintaining a very good team with a very good roster. Very consistent. I mean, it's been 25 years of good players and good football with very little bad leaks in between. Some bad little rebuilds needed in the middle. But, yeah, they just totally blew it. I don't want to blow it. I want to get a great coach and keep him for 15 to 20 years, and I'm tired of making the mistake. There's a lot of opportunity out there right now. Sam Darnold's going to get himself a big, fat contract for the Minnesota Vikings, and that's going to make J.J. McCarthy available, and that's what we should do. We got to get a good coach. You get J.J. McCarthy, and that's it. Leave them alone. Get Woody Johnson out of there. Leave them alone. Let a great coach get a great quarterback in McCarthy, and leave them be. Just shut up, sit in your owner's box, and leave them alone. And give us a chance to finally be something significant in this league. Jets are terrible, but at least I have my Notre Dame. Notre Dame, man, that was huge. I'm glad they beat Georgia. That was great. I enjoyed that. I'm a Notre. I'm not a huge. I'm not saying they're my favorite team, but when I was a kid or when I was younger, Notre Dame was like the first national team. Like NBC signed this big contract with them. You got to watch them every week. I like Notre Dame. They were fun. And then, of course, you had the movie, Rudy. So, yeah, go Notre Dame. Go Irish. Beat them, Georgia Bulldogs. Get Georgia out of there. Like, I could be happy with Georgia not being in the top 20 for the next 15, 20 years. I've had enough. The same 10 illegal teams who cheat and stay on top of the country the whole time by paying, even before the NIL, they were paying off players, doing all kinds of illegal stuff to recruit all the talent. It's about time we spread around. It doesn't bother me when Notre Dame does it because Notre Dame is tradition. But really what I'd like to see is different teams, different college teams have their shots. I think the Arizona State thing was wonderful. Boise State, wonderful. That's what I want to see. One day I hope one of those teams make a run and win the whole thing. It'd be great. Sick and tired of the same teams in college every year, except for Notre Dame. Notre Dame just belongs in the top 10. They should be a contender every year because they're Notre Dame. They are college football. You know what I'm saying, Chris Bredigan? Tim Brown, he's saying, hello, pretty classy lady. You're pretty classy. Yep, you're pretty classy for being here. Anyway, hit that like button when you get a chance. There's nothing wrong with hitting the like button. It takes 2 seconds. You just hit the little like button. Helps with the algorithm. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to look at Jordan Travis film. So we're going to look at what we have in that backup quarterback. Some people think that he's just some dart throw guy who's going to be never do anything for us. Some people think he's going to be our starter of the future. Some people don't know. We're just going to take a look and see if we like him. We're going to look at his college tape. We're going to see why were we excited about Jordan Travis. What would he have been if he never got injured? Yeah, so it'll be fun. We're just going to look. Can he make all the throws? The normal stuff we do. We'll see. We'll be honest. We're not going to sit there and pretend that Jordan Travis is going to be some kind of superstar. But we're going to look at his strengths, his weaknesses, and be honest about what we think. There's nothing wrong with a guy becoming a backup quarterback that's solid in the NFL. Like a guy who, remember back in the day, we had a guy named Pat Ryan? Like he was a legit backup quarterback. You know who's a legit backup quarterback? Minshew, right? He's not a starter, but he's a legit backup quarterback. He's the kind of guy who could come in and still give your team over the course of a few games while your starter, is recovering from an injury, can still give your team a chance to win each week. That's what you want. So we're going to see. Is Jordan Travis that? Do we think he's more? Do we think he's less? We'll be talking about that tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Knobcraft is here. He says Travis is about to be the next Drew Brees. I don't think he got the arm for it, but what do I know? At the end of the day, what do I really know? Not much. Not much. I know how to shave my head, but do I know to that he's going to be a good quarterback, a bad quarterback? I don't know. What's up, New York Jets superfan? Saying hello. It's good to see you. Microfox is in the house too. Thanks for being here, buddy. So we spoke to another guy. Riddick is his last name. I like to joke and say that's Tigo's guy, and that's pissed. Tigo doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's like, I don't like this guy. I never said I did. Anyway, this guy Riddick worked in the Washington organization. Not impressed with that at all. That's a very bad thing. A big taboo. Stay away. Stay away. They've sucked for 100 years. They've sucked since the 80s. So I don't want any guy who worked in the. But he also worked in the Eagles front office. So that's not a bad thing to have on your resume. Over the last 20 or something years, they always seem to make, Super Bowl runs and things like that. But look, it's just one guy, first GM that we interviewed, or actually we interviewed like 4 or 5 guys. I wouldn't go too crazy yet. We have to wait for the season to end. I'm sure there are assistant GM candidates that are going to come from organizations like Detroit, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or Green Bay. Who knows? So there'll be more GMs to be interviewed. I wouldn't read into any one interview too much, and I think again the Rooney interview, I wouldn't lean into that too far either. I would have liked to seen an announcement that Mike Vrabel's coming in. For all we know, he's on vacation with his family. So, maybe he already quietly or secretly said, I'll be back on January 8th. We'll schedule something then. We don't know. But I fully expect us to interview Mike Vrabel at some point. I think that he's going to be a candidate. We'll see if Ben Johnson takes the interview with us. He might have no interest. He might say, I don't want to waste my time. But if he's willing, it's hard to believe we'd pass up on him. He's one of the most highly coveted assistant coaches right now for a head coaching job. Liam Cohn from Tampa Bay, offensive coordinator from Tampa Bay, would be a really nice interview. Good guy to bring in. So let's hope that these guys, we're hoping that these guys are going to come in and talk. And we're not going to do something stupid and foolish and hire some freaking guy that's going to make us scratch our heads. I'm glad they interviewed him. Rooney Rule out of the way. Perhaps candidate for assistant GM under Dimitrov. I guess perhaps. Definitely had to check that box of the Rooney Rule, I thought, because what if Vrabel comes into the building and what if he's their number one choice? What if they know they want him? And Vrabel's ready to talk contract. You don't want to sit there and say, well, wait, we have to interview somebody else first because we haven't checked off the Rooney box. Now the Rooney box is checked off. Now, I think that we might hire somebody that meets the Rooney requirements anyway, because I would expect Brian Flores to be a real candidate. I don't see why not. He was a winning coach. Kind of surprise firing. Wouldn't be surprised if I'm not saying we should hire him. I'm saying, but it would be shocking not to consider him. So we'll see if that happens anyway. But I think when you check off the Rooney box, you get to very safely go into all your interviews now, and you just get to hire the best guy that you talk to. Whoever that might be, without having to worry that you didn't meet some interviewing requirements. So it's good to get that and check that box and get it out of the way. Vrabel wants to coach the Pats, already said so. Well, I mean, the Patriots have a coach, and that would be kind of messed up. It'd be kind of messed up if they fired him after 1 year. But I don't think he's officially said that he didn't want to coach anyone else. I think he said that he would coach the Patriots. Of course he would. But he also said that he would consider the Jets job. So I don't think that we should listen too much to the press and get too brainwashed by rumors like that. I think Vrabel would consider being the coach of multiple teams. Who says he wouldn't take the Bears job? Who says he wouldn't take, who says he wouldn't take the Jaguars? I mean, people think Jaguars trash. What are you talking about? They have a quarterback. The weather's great. I mean, they have draft picks galore. I don't think that's such a bad job. So, yeah, I wouldn't write anything off. I don't think Vrabel's going to limit his options, um, in hopes that Mayo gets fired in just 1 year. I mean, how do you do that? How do you take an inside guy, act like you're super excited for him to be the coach, say how much you believe in him, give him the job when he has a rookie quarterback, and a bridge quarterback and has no roster yet, and then you're going to sit there and you're going to fire him after 1 year? That would be a shady, shady thing to do. So I don't know. They don't have to fill the Rooney Rule for all vacancies. They only have to fill the Rooney Rule for head coach. And if I'm wrong about that, then that's okay because you hire your coach and you let them interview a bunch of, they'll interview and bring in their assistant coaching staff and if they have to meet any, I don't think though. I don't think so. I think it's just for the head coach job that you have to require that. It doesn't matter because Riddick, the guy we interviewed for GM, for example, he's African American. He's a black guy. So whether we hire him or not, that checks off the Rooney box if required. But I've only heard of it for head coaches. I've never heard of the Rooney Rule for any other job. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the point is, if you hire the head coach, they don't have to come with their assistants automatically. He'll go out and find his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator. I'm sure that Vrabel is already knows that he's going to be a head coach, and I'm sure that he has tentative, unless you get something better like head coaching offers. I'm sure he has his offensive and defensive coordinator picked out. I'm sure, think about it like if it was us, real people, right? You don't think I'm calling Green Bean and saying, hey man, I don't know why, but Woody Johnson must have done a lot of freaking crack because he decided he wants Jets Chaos to be the general manager. That's right, Green Bean. I'm the freaking general manager, right? You don't think on the side or before I even get the job or it's done or before I'm interviewing that I'm not already calling people? I'm not already talking to Tony, the GM, and saying, hey, get ready to help me find a quarterback. You're going to be hired as my quarterback guy. You don't think I'm talking to Dom C and saying, hey, my team would be very different, by the way. From what I hear, teams have scouts that are regional. They have a scout in this area. I wouldn't do that. I would have, because of the internet and film and the way things work in this world, I don't care. I don't need a Northeast scout to do every position. To me, that's stupid. Because why would I have one guy spread so thin to give me quarterback ratings and then also be looking at offensive linemen? Why wouldn't I want an offensive lineman specialist and a quarterback specialist that all they do is look at quarterbacks? Doesn't that make more sense than have 15 scouts around the country and they're all giving me different quarterback reports, but they're different people, so how do I compare them? Wouldn't I want one guy to look at all top 10 quarterbacks and rate them? Doesn't that make more sense? Wouldn't I want one guy to look at all the tackles individually and compare them? So to me, that's who I am. So Dom C is my defensive line, offensive line guru. He's going to rank my defensive tackles. He's going to rank my edges. He's going to rank my guards, rank my tackles. That's who I'm using if I'm running this football team. Greenbean's not going to rank shit. He's just going to sit there and be the face of the franchise, right? Because people are going to like him better than me, right? So they're going to hire me, but really Greenbean's the guy that's going to come out and answer questions to the press and the media and do all that stuff. And behind closed doors, he's going to yell at me and tell me what I need to do, right? So Greenbean's going to be the voice of the people. And he's going to tell me, you're freaking nuts, you're nuts, you're nuts, you Tony the GM is smoking crack, shut up. This is what you're going to do, right? So that's what I'm going to hire him for. Believe it or not, Tigo is going to have a job. Tigo will be in my front office. Just to be the contrary opinion, to be the devil's advocate, to challenge people, to be annoying, no, but really, I want people who contradict me a lot. I want someone to challenge me. I want someone to tell me I'm wrong constantly, right? That's the problem. Is you get these people in power, they don't want anybody around that tells them they're wrong, and that's the worst thing in the world. That's how you really get into bad situations. You need people who challenge you, who speak up to you, who tell you you're wrong, to make you work that much harder, to prove you're right, or they prove that they convince you, they win you over. Besides, Tigo actually has there's some positions he's really good at evaluating. So, you know, wide receivers. It's like Tigo might be my wide receiver guy. So, yeah, I don't think Kraft is committed to Mayo, especially after this season. Well, I mean, but that's what it is. We're just guessing. We're just guessing. Microfox, you're gonna be my finance guy. Who's gonna be my finance guy? I mean, I'm pretty good at math, but the cap is complicated. I'm thinking Frankie from Flatbush. I think if Frankie focused on just salary cap and learned every single rule and how you manipulate it and how you can move people and how the bonuses work and how you could shift it, I think Frankie's the kind of guy with spreadsheets and everything that would put together a good financial plan, right, on the money part of football. And anybody who's screaming, "Oh my God, this guy's a lunatic! He's going to bring in all his friends." What do you think these GMs do right now? Like, who do you think these people are that work for him? NFL scouts went to scouting school. Guess what? Frankie went to scouting school. Dom C went to scouting school. Joe Blewett might not have went to scouting school, but he seems to know as much as somebody who does go to scouting school. I mean, so there's nothing wrong with these guys. There's nothing says that the scouts out there in this country that right now teams hire know any more than these guys, right? It's just about having the time and the commitment to watch them and to know what you're looking at, to know enough about what you're looking for. It's not that complicated. And some people have proven, Tom C is proven. If you go for the last 2 years and look at his rankings for offensive linemen, defensive line, he's proven. Like, he's not going to steer you wrong. Like if I'm in the second round and I'm looking to draft a guard, I'm going to go to Dom C for the best available guy. I trust that completely. Complete trust that he's going to give me the best name out there. So, yeah, I'm not worried about it. It doesn't mean he's going to be right 100% of the time. But if you take, which is what we should be doing, and we've never have historically as a team, we do need to do more of. If you take guards in the third round, the fifth round one year, and then the fourth round the next year, if you're constantly in those middle rounds taking trenches guys, defensive tackles, guards, tackles, some of them should pan out and be very good. And I have no doubt in my mind, Dom C would get me Pro Bowl players in the third and fourth rounds on the offensive line if I gave him a few years. Puny, who's like a third round pick, Dom C had him. Like, he would have gotten me to pick him. Like, there's guys like that like, we all love Creed Humphreys. We could have gotten them instead of Elijah Moore in the second round. I mean, we could have had Pro Bowl type players on our offensive line without using first round picks. It's possible. What we do wrong is we have these regional scouts that do every position, and then it thins them out. They're not good in any position because they're looking at every single player in the Northeast in every position. To me, that's stupid. That does not work. I want a guy who spends all day in the same positions. All day. So he can learn that position so well that he's the expert of that position, that he knows exactly what he's looking for with players on their tape, on their film. Exactly. He's looking at their hands. He's looking at their feet. He knows exactly what he's seeing. That's who I want. It's going to be Pete Carroll or Gruden, possibly Rex. The problem with Pete Carroll is this guy's an old man. He's like 71. I mean, how long is he going to be there? So you're getting a 2-year coach and then you're going to start over again? Like, I love what Pete Carroll could do in the short term, but man, it's like it's another guarantee that we're gonna be looking for a new coach in 3 years. You know what I mean? That's my problem with him. And Gruden, the problem with Gruden is, Micah, you're saying I'm the finance guy. I probably could figure it out if I put my, I just have to learn the rules. You know what I mean? And I could do it. Because I'm really good with numbers and everything. I just have to get really familiar with the rules. Frankie. You got to have Frankie. Frankie's probably the stat guy, right? He's telling me, he's telling me what the coaches are doing. He's telling the coaches, he's got to be a team. He's got to have some kind of role in there with numbers and statistics, maybe with the plays, like the formations, like how often are we running a 2-2, 2-1? How often are we running an 11? When we run an 11 versus their big and we're running an 11 against their dime, what does it look like? When we run a 12 against their dime, what does it look like? When we're running against their basic, what does it look like? Like when do we have more success running? And something like that. But really, it would be funny for the Jet fans because it's like all those guys from YouTube would be running the Jets if one of us got in there and got hired. You know, you know what Rob would be Ryan, Jets 24/7. You know what he would do for the team? He would not be in a front office. Ryan would be the Jets media guy. You know those turds that they have, or in the we're Jet Studio here interviewing so and so, and they're just these two buffoons, this girl and this guy, who's just they're just like models or whatever to look good. First of all, Ryan's a good looking guy, but that doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. I want Ryan to be the Jets media guy. I want Matt O'Leary to be the Jets media guy. I want the two of them in the studio, interviewing, sending stuff out. You know what I mean? I mean, he's not a fan of mine. He doesn't even like me. I don't even like the guy, but I would hire Gator to be the video guy. You know what I mean? Like, so all the intros and stuff and all the video technic stuff. I mean, I don't have to like somebody or they don't have to like me. I mean, I don't know what I did to offend the guy, but Gator would be the guy I hired because in reality, he's the best man for the job. How fire would our freaking intros and our videos be, like for the Jets, like the official Jets stuff, if Gator was in charge? It'd be awesome. So yeah, that would be I would hire him. I don't know if Jake Asman would want a job for just one team. What am I crazy? Of course he would. What would Jake Asman be? If he was he's so talented. It's such a waste. Like even the Jets media and to have him in the regular studio doesn't seem to be, yeah, maybe PR. Maybe Jake would be the guy out in the world doing the interviews, doing Jets content. Like maybe Ryan and Matt would be in the studio and Jake would be the guy out there in the cold with the earmuffs on. And doing stuff like that, and like interviewing people, and I don't know, but like but they would all have job offers to be like part of the Jets media without question. Jake would be president of football operations. I don't know if he wants that job or if he feels qualified to be for that job. Jake is a broadcaster, man. That's his passion. You know what I mean? That's his passion. I mean, Joe Blewett, Dom C. You know, maybe Frankie went to scouting school. Maybe he'd want to do that. But like these guys would be Tego. These guys would be definitely be personnel. They would definitely be part of personnel. They would be like guys to help find out who we're going to draft, who we're going to pick. I'd have Pure Adrenaline Sports. John Post would be my I just want him around. I need like a blue collar worker guy, like a real Pennsylvania, New Jersey guy. The guy who shows up to lunch with those like construction worker lunch boxes, with a hard hat, even though he's in an office. Like that would be John Post for me. Like he would just be around, like well mannered John Post. Like saying things to me like, if we give the ball to Brees Hall 25 times, he'd be a good fantasy start. Like that kind of stuff. And then Microfox and guys like Billy SBC, they would just be in the suite, hanging out as Eric Craig, the guys that have always been loyal to me. They would just be in the suite. Knobcraft, Knobcraft, dude. You would not only be in the suite, Knobcraft would be in charge of what food's going to be served there. And I'd send him into whoever catering I hired to do the suites. If Knobcraft wanted that job to be the chief caterer, like to be in charge of all the food that's served in all the luxury suites for MetLife, that would be him. But then what Knobcraft would have to do is at the games, he wouldn't be working. He'd be watching the games, eating the food, making sure it's good. And I know Knobcraft, he'd storm off angry if the food wasn't good. He'd be like, ooh, he'd go fire someone or something, and cursing and muffling under his breath. But I think... yeah, I think it would work. So the Dom C's there. He's saying, I promise you a top offensive line within 3 years. Book it. I have no doubt. I've seen it. If Dom C was in charge of the New York Jets, like, and they said to him, "You have the third to fifth round picks the last 4 years." If he would have had the, he would have been able to use any pick, third, fourth, or fifth rounds, sixth round even, right? You get all those rounds. We just don't want to waste early round picks. We need you to put together an offensive line for us to help us find at least 3/5 of it or part of it with those later round picks. I almost guarantee you, he knows the names that we would have had. Like, he knows the names. Like, we would have it. We would be good. And we wouldn't have had to, And then when we did do that number one pick, when we used that 11 pick on Becton, I don't know if Dom C agreed with that. I have a feeling that John C would have been a Wirfs guy, Tristan Wirfs. That's my guess. I just have a feeling that that's who he would have been. But I have no doubt in my mind, if I said to Dom C, I want the best, I want a top 10 offensive line, and I want a top 10 defensive line. And I'm giving you 3 to 4 years to make that happen, that we're in the top 10 in both categories for defensive and offensive line. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. And I'm going to give him, allocate some first round picks. Like I'm going to say, we have to, first round picks have to go to edge sometimes. So you're going to get that, but you can't have it every year because I need to do that for wide receiver. I might need to do that for quarterback. So I need to not have to use a first round pick on an offensive or defensive line every year. So maybe every other year you get one of those two. So every year you get, this year you get a first round offensive lineman. Next year you get a second round defensive lineman, right? And or no. 1 year you get a defensive lineman, the first round. The second year you get an offensive lineman first round. Both those years you get third rounds for the opposite. The next year you can use a second. Now we need to use a first rounder on a wide receiver, but I'll give you a second round pick for an offensive lineman and a fourth round pick for a defensive lineman. And the year after that, we have to pick I don't know, a tight end, or a safety, but don't worry about it, or a cornerback, but don't worry about it because second round I'll give you offensive line, like that kind of thing. So over the 3 or 4 years, he'll have a couple of first round picks, a couple of second round picks, and a few third round picks, right? To invest in defensive offensive line, and a lot of fourth, fifth, sixth round. Anytime Tom C came to me and said, this guy's a steal in the fourth round. Oh my God, he's a steal, he's a steal, he's a steal. You got it, Tom. I trust you. And I'm taking that guy. We would have Zach Frazier. When did he get picked? There were some guys who slipped. There's no way Tom C would have let a general manager take Elijah Moore over Creed Humphreys. He would have been screaming at the guy. This is our center for the next 15 years. He would have been screaming at the guy. There's no way he lets Creed Humphreys go. I mean, technically, and I love AVT, but technically, we didn't have to trade up to get AVT. We could have taken Creed Humphreys. And then we could have used that second round pick on something. We could have taken a tackle with that pick instead of trading up for freaking AVT, and we could have taken Creed Humphreys with that second round. But there's so many different combinations. We needed offensive line that year. We had just taken Zach Wilson. We had just taken a quarterback. We needed to invest in the offensive line. Elijah Moore. Sheesh. What a wasted pick that was. Joe Blewett, only fool in America that did not like Bowers. How did that work out? Yeah, but Big Al, I'm not judging Joe Blewett on one player. Like, he's right about a lot of other things. So I'm not going to sit there and throw him under the bus and say, oh, Joe Blewett, you're not good at evaluating because of one player. I think what happened was, and that's my guess, I think that what happened was that Joe Blewett got caught up in the whole didn't want to take him. So he, there was a prejudice in the way he went about it. I didn't actually watch the show. I mean, he may have just been saying he may have been saying the truth. Like, he's not an inline tight end, and maybe Joe Blewett likes inline tight ends. He wants a guy who can actually line up on the offensive line, and Bowers can't do that. So maybe he was just talking from that perspective. I don't know. I did think that was the worst take that he had ever given. Of all the tape he's ever done, all the film he's ever done, I thought the worst film he ever did, the worst prediction he ever did for a player was Brock Bowers. But he knew Zach Wilson was trash. He knew that Bryce Hall wasn't really a cornerback. a cornerback one, which people are acting like he would be. I mean, there's a lot of stuff he knows. So, and that's why you have Dom C and Frankie, and you have other guys and Tigo to challenge each other, right? So you don't only have one opinion. Also, the truth is, Olu looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowl tight end. And I would rather have a Pro Bowl tight end than an amazing tight end, a Pro Bowl tight end. Left tackle's a more important position. So, like, as much as I would love to have Brock Bowers, what's the point of having Brock Bowers if you can't block and protect your quarterback and you don't have a game anyway? You can't get him the ball anyway. Like, to me, you have to have an offensive line first. You give me, if Olu is our left tackle, Pro Bowl left tackle, and we have him his whole career, 12, 13, 14 years, I will never regret that pick. I'll take that every day and Sunday. Old-fashioned Richard. Jets coaches wouldn't have known how to use Bowers. Well, it's not just knowing how to use them. I mean, you're right. But it's just also, you got to have an offensive line. Like, what would we have done? Right? It doesn't matter if you don't have an offensive line, and you don't have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen to run around the backfield buying extra time. Having a good tight end, tight end is a luxury pick. It's a luxury pick. I mean, it's like, to me, you have to have an offensive line. You have to have a quarterback. You have to build your team. Running back, tight ends, those are luxury picks. Obviously, you have to start with some weapons, right? So maybe it's your tight end. Okay. And then maybe it's not going to be wide receiver. Or maybe it's a great wide receiver, like starting now with GW. You have to have something, right? But it's just a luxury to have, if you don't have a quarterback yet, your concern should be finding quarterback and offensive line. That's how you start. This way the quarterback comes in, he has an offensive line, he doesn't get killed. And yeah, maybe you're not going to be a Super Bowl team because you still need some weapons, but you're going to be good. Because lots of just average NFL wide receivers, if you have a really good offensive line and a really good quarterback and a good running back room, you're going to, believe me, they'll get open. Guys will get open. Now, it just so happens we do have Garrett Wilson. We have no WR2. I don't know if people realize that. We do not have a WR2. Devontae Adams is gone. Okay, assuming Rodgers and Devontae are gone, we don't have a WR2. It's the biggest need. It's so much of a need that we're probably not going to trade back in the draft, although people are saying that, unless we trade back like 4 spots because we love Ibuka from Ohio State. But that aside, we have to take McMillan if he's there. Like, there's just no choice. Like, we have to take, we can't go to the second, third round like we did with Corley and hope we can find a wide receiver. We have no WR2. Our wide receiver room is trash. Right now, all we know from Molokai Corley is he's a gadget-type receiver at best. That's what we have to assume. He certainly can't line up at the Y or the Z or whatever they call it. He's not an outside receiver. He's not a boundary receiver, any terminology you want to use. We need someone to line up opposite Garrett Wilson. Now, if Ibuka is a slot, I don't mind that, because if you have Garrett Wilson and Ibuka and then you pick up some average WR2s, just some tall, big guy, well, maybe he's not a star or anything, that'll probably be okay because you have your second threat in Ibuka. But ideally, McMillan is your guy. Okay? You know what McMillan is? McMillan is Mike Evans if he was fast. Imagine Mike Evans if he was a speedster. Like, he was also very quick. Oh my God, right? Oh my God. That's what McMillan is. He's special. So if we pick at 5 and McMillan's on the board, you grab him. Right? And you lock up those 2 receivers. You got the running backs. You got 4/5 your offensive line. The only problem with us is we don't have a quarterback. That's the only problem. I know it's a big problem. It's a big, big problem. But you can't force that. You can't take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. You can't take the wrong guy. You can't take a guy. They might be great. They might end up being great quarterbacks, but they're not top 10 picks. Like in any other year, last year they would have been quarterback 6 and 7 on the ratings. Like, you can't do that. You can't reach like that and take a guy who last year would have been the sixth or seventh best quarterback. You can't do that with a fifth pick. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to have that happen to us. So that's not on the table. So you got to get every other position right. Use the second and third round for defense, retool the defense, however we do it. Retool the team as best you can, bridge quarterback, figure it out. The only exception to all of this is if Minnesota's willing to trade J.J. McCarthy, you go all in and you get him. You get J.J. McCarthy. Then you got your quarterback. You got an offensive line to protect him. He only has one receiver. That's a problem. Maybe we could get a tight end in the second round with our second round pick. So at least he'll have a tight end to dump it off to. He'll have Garrett Wilson. And then we'll see what we could do about our GW, our other wideout. Like, we'll just have to figure it out. Right? I mean, you just get a guy. Some average number 2 wide receiver that's not too expensive. It's our only choice. You could pick up a wide receiver 2 in free agency. That's what if we did McCarthy. I agree, but you're not getting a star. We don't have the money because Rodgers is probably leaving or retiring, getting cut, whatever it is. $49 million, poof and smoke. Now it's not. I mean, also Devontae, we're going to lose some money. It's going to be like $60 million total. That's just dead cap space. That doesn't mean nobody though, because everybody's walking. It means that it's going to come at a price. You know what I mean? Like Reed, we know DJ Reed is walking, but it's like, how are we maybe we get Eccles cheap. Maybe we get Sherwood cheap. Like, if we don't get them cheap, though, we might not be able to get them if we want a WR2. So one of those guys might walk. And then we're going to have to go with Barnes or Surratt at linebacker next year, with Quincy Williams. So these are the things that we have to, prepare for. Like we're going to have to take some medicine for losing Rodgers. Like, that's going to be some yucky medicine. Now, we can get a functional tight end. We will. We need someone better than Rucker or Yeboah, obviously. So, I mean, maybe it's Conklin again. Maybe we re-sign him. I mean, it's worry about getting the really good tight end in 2026. We're not winning a Super Bowl next year. But if we get J.J. McCarthy, you want the new coaching staff to have some success, right? We want to change the culture. We could do that. We'll have a great running backs. We'll have a very good young quarterback. We'll have Garrett Wilson. Get me a functional tight end. We have a good offensive line. We'll have a good running game. Patch up the defense. We got to start fixing the defense. Maybe we could sneak in 8-9 wins. Maybe we could steal a wild card spot. I don't know. But we got to start turning this culture around. So that's why we cannot win on Sunday. I know people hate saying that. I don't like to tank, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. We can't have the 10th pick. There's no value in that. That means someone with a stronger pick than us is going to get J.J. McCarthy and not us. We need the 5th. We need to pick 5 or 6. We need to pray that the Giants or Carolina, that a couple of teams win, and we must lose. Because fuck this year. Fuck the Miami game. This is our future. We have so many needs. We can't afford this. We can't afford to have this happen. That we drop down to the 10th pick in the draft. What is that going to get us? Bupkis. That's what it's going to get us. Bupkis. Can't have that happen. Sign Morgan Moses now. What are they waiting for? I don't care. For next year, you stay functional. Mitchell and Warren stay the backup right tackles. Moses is the right tackle. If you want to draft the guy in the middle round, you think you find someone you like, you find a steal, great. We can't fix every hole. We're not going to fix it in 1 year. We've got $60 million in cap space burned. We're not going to be able to do it. So you have to just have functionality. In some positions, we're just going to have to go with hoping Morgan Moses stays healthy. And hoping Mitchell and Warren could sub in for him if he gets hurt. That's what we have to do. We just have to live with it. It's just being realistic. People are like, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. Morgan won't stay healthy and Mitchell and Warren suck. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I do know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we can't fill every position. We don't have the money. We just don't have it. We're going to have some positions where we just accept mediocrity. Like that's what it is. But if Morgan stays healthy for 14 to 15 of the games, that's great. Our offensive line will be great. It'll be fine if he does that. If he plays 10 of the games, then we'll have to live 7 games with an okay. Okay, well, we're going to have a below average right tackle. What can I tell you? But the rest of the offensive line is very good. And a good coach could make that work. Especially JJ is very mobile. As long as he recovers from his injury, he's super mobile, guys. He's quick. He's great in the backfield. He has great footwork. He slides around the pocket. It's beautiful to watch. We could survive it. Sometimes it'll hurt us. We might lose a game, maybe 2, because our right tackle sucks if Morgan gets hurt. That could happen. But that's just the way it's going to be, because we can't fill every spot with a Pro Bowler. Like, we just can't. So, you know, like, to me, it's like, yeah, we're going to have to sacrifice to get. Now, personally, if I got J.J. McCarthy and I brought back Morgan Moses, right, I really want to get a WR2, man, because I think our offense could be really freaking good. I really do. But I think he needs that other weapon. He's a young guy. They're going to double cover Garrett. You need a WR2 who can make the other team pay if you double cover Garrett, who can get open. You know, you still need that receiver who can get open. If they take Garrett out of the game, you have to have another wide receiver. So maybe they get a right tackle in the 3rd round, possibly. That's why I would hire Dom C. That's where Dom C comes in, because he's the one that's going to tell me, Jeremy, I think this guy would be better than Warren or Mitchell. Bring him in here. Or there's a good chance he'll be as good as them. Maybe not year one. Year one, they might be like them, but they will have the potential to be good and actually be a real starter someday. You know what I mean? That's why you bring in a team that you trust. That's why you have a team you trust, right? But maybe whoever they bring in will have some trustworthy scout. You know, I like Phil Savage. I think he's good. So, you know, I don't think we need to replace our scouting department. But, like, you got to tell these guys, we got to find a tackle in the 3rd round. Just got to do it. Jetty30 says, what up, Jeremy? Miss your channel, brother. Hey, I've been here, man. I've been here. Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern. Fridays. I've been doing quarterback reviews and stuff like that. And every once in a while I do this. I'm just talking. I think Green Bean's not on tonight. That's why I came on. I was like, I checked, and it didn't look like he was streaming. So I said, I'll stream. Have a conversation with some people. They brought in 2 Ron Rivera guys. Should we be worried? Laughing out loud. I am never above worrying. If they hired Ron Rivera, I'd be very concerned. I think I would have this. It would be like being kicked in the stomach. Like, it's just never going to end for us. That's how I'd feel. I mean, I just got to be realistic. I think we all do. You just don't bring in a guy who's coached for 13 years and made the playoffs 5 times, which is great, better than any coach we've had. But I just don't think that's shooting for the best. I think he'd make the locker room respectable. I don't think it wouldn't be disgusting. Ron Rivera is not a terrible coach, right? Like, it would be a professional coaching staff. It would be an NFL professional coaching staff. Like, it wouldn't be an embarrassment. It wouldn't. Like, if you watch his teams and everything, it wasn't an embarrassment. He's a real coach. I don't think he's a Super Bowl coach. Like, he had Cam Newton that one year and they made that run, but I don't think we could rely on that. Like, he's just not my guy. So I'd be pretty bummed. Rookies are always exciting, rookie coaches, because even though I'm not happy about it and they have to learn everything, with rookies, there's always that hope. There's always that dream. But to me, it would have to be Liam Cohn, Ben Johnson. If it's going to be a rookie coach, it's got to be an innovative offensive mind. I think we all agree on that. You can't bring in a rookie head coach that's defensive. I'm sorry, Aaron Glenn. I love you as a human being, but no, thank you. We cannot keep doing this. Like, no, we just can't do it. Also, it can't be a weirdo. Like, their eyes can't do this. Like, it's got to be a normal guy. You know what I mean? Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl winning coach. I know that, but he sucks. You know what I mean? He sucks. I don't know what magic he had. He had a great front office in Philadelphia, but he sucks. I mean, Jacksonville is fucking trash. I mean, how do you take somebody who just failed so miserably? You know? Oh, that's your point of saying why you can't take Ron Rivera. Also, the guy from Dallas, the head coach there, I wouldn't want him either, and he's a Super Bowl coach. You know, sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. Or sometimes you have that one year where you have the right chemistry or the right team with you. But, you know, being a great coach and being a winner goes beyond just having one great season. It's about, can you sustain? Can you ride the tide? You know, man, Tomlin would be so good. I remember I used to love Bill Cowher, man. I would have loved Bill Cowher. I can't stand the idea of Rex Ryan. I love Rex Ryan as a person, but everybody in the world forgot about Rex Ryan's last 4 years with us and his years in Buffalo. Like, I don't understand what people are thinking. What do you think he's going to do for us? You think he's going to turn it around? We're not in the same situation. When Rex Ryan took over, we had the team built. They had already, Mangini and whoever the GM was, they built a team, right? That's not the case. Rex Ryan cannot build a team. He did the team once it deteriorated over time with him. He's not a team builder. That's why I like guys like Vrabel. You know what I mean? Remember hearing rumors the Coward wanted to coach the Jets. This was years ago. I do remember that. I always wanted it. I always thought he'd be a great coach for us. Great Northeast coach. Winter coach. Hard defense. Power running game. Always thought he'd be a great coach for us. Hard-nosed guy. Doesn't take bullshit. Values a good safety. Values good secondary players that can hit and make big plays. Values the pass rush. Knows how to find guys. Knows how to find and coach guys above their potential. You know, that's what Pittsburgh does. They've done it for years. Guys go over their potential for them. Not saying they're perfect, right? But they're freaking good. I would trade our history for Pittsburgh's history, right? I mean, they've had a lot more fun the last 15 years than we've had. That's for sure. But, guys, we need a WR2. We need a tight end. We got some holes on this team. We need a right tackle. I say sign Morgan Moses to a 2-year deal. I'm so tired of us just assuming guys are too old. He's not too old. He's playing very well. There's no reason to assume he's too old. I'm tired of it already. We already let him go because we said he was too old. We could have had him the last 2 years. So stupid. Rex brought the team to Cortland. This made his team go through something difficult and builds team unity. Look, I love Rex. I love Rex the guy, right? I mean, I love what Rex Ryan did for this team. I'm not anti-Rex Ryan. I just don't think he's the head coach I want right now. I mean, I wouldn't. There would be part of me that would be excited. Who am I fooling? If the Jets hired Rex Ryan, part of me would be very pumped up and excited. I'd be like, "Holy shit, we got Rex Ryan!" I mean, he's like big talker, like he's a no bullshit guy. I know the first thing he would do is make a statement. He'd find the biggest asshole we have in that locker room. Like, we don't know, right? But he'd find that guy. Who's that guy that's a child who's causing problems, and he ripped the shit out of that guy and humiliate him in the press. Humiliate him. Say, "You're not a Jet." Throw him right off our team. And make it an example to the other players, saying, if you want to be a New York Jet, you're going to be you're going to be a New York Jet the way I say is a New York Jet. And we all know that Rex Ryan has the right expectation of what a New York Jet should be. So part of me would be very excited, but another part of me would know that it really didn't work the last 4 years he was the coach. Aradondak Fly Guy says the team is The team was just as talented, and look where they are right now. Coaching matters. Rex coached that team to back AFC Championship games. Salah wouldn't have done that with Rex roster. I agree. I like Rex. I like him. But what happens after over time though is they get worse. Like it and maybe it would be good just I mean it would have been good if we brought Rex in last before this year. Right? It would have been good if we brought Rex in before we lost our team. Like, I don't know if he could coach this team to anything. We're not the same team anymore. Our defense sucks. Our defense sucks. We have some good players on defense, but man, did they suck right now. They are such trash. I don't know if it's only coaching either. These guys can't tackle. And maybe that is coaching. Maybe Rex will bust their ass in camp and teach them how to tackle again. Rich Kotite will not be the Jets' new coach. People evolve. I mean, maybe Rex will evolve. Look, I'm telling you. Part of me would be excited. I mean, I love Rex Ryan. I mean, as a man, I love him. If I met him, Rex, you're the fucking man. I love him. I just don't know if he's going to bring us to the promised land. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's going to be the one to get us there. I mean, he came close, man. He came close. That lost that game against Pittsburgh, man. Oof. I'm be brokenhearted forever. But I don't know. Rex. Not Aaron Glenn, guys. No, sorry. Get your coaching chops somewhere else. I'm sorry. I can't do a rookie defensive coordinator as a head coach. I just can't do it. The staff refused to change anything. I know. Don't get me wrong. Rex Ryan, if he was the coach before this year started, we'd be much better. I have no question about it. There's no question in my mind we'd be better. He wouldn't have put up with any of this shit. We would be blitzing. We'd be doing different things, different looks. We would try different things. He doesn't care if he gives up a big touchdown play sometimes. Who cares? That's part of blitzing. Sometimes you get beat. But we all know that it would work better than what we saw this year. We wouldn't have teams pushing us around. It's bullshit. I bet you Rex would have made Michael Clemens better somehow. Well, that's a stretch, but he may have. It's also who would he have hired as his offensive coordinator too. I hope they hire Dimitrov. That's the best candidate. I believe that he's better suited over anyone the Jets plan to interview. I don't know enough about him. Wasn't he a GM once? Right? Didn't he have some successful years as a GM? I think he did. And to all the Gruden truthers, most overrated head coach in the country, barely a 500 coach, had only 4 double-digit win seasons and 4 double-digit loss seasons and a bunch of 7, 8, and 8 seasons and 15 seasons. Yeah, I didn't like Gruden in the Raiders. I thought that he did it. I thought he dismantled that team, and it was very confusing. He dismantled their offensive line. I said, what kind of coach comes in and destroys the offensive line? Like, he just got rid of all of them. It was crazy. How do you feel about Frank Reich? I really like Frank Reich. Where is he? Could we get him as offensive coordinator? Like, if he's not in the league, can we get him as offensive coordinator? I mean, I would love to. Can you imagine Mike Vrabel with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator? Did that already happen? Was that once the case? Was it once Frank Reich with Vrabel? Did that happen? I mean, if he doesn't have a job, I don't understand why he wouldn't be an offensive coordinator. I don't know about head coach, but I mean, can you imagine if Vrabel is the head coach and you make Frank Reich the offensive coordinator? That sounds good to me. I don't know why he's not working. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He was really good for a while. I know he had his struggles too, but I think that they gave up on him way too soon. That's the problem with this league. You know? There are people in San Francisco, like, now that everyone's wondering, is Shanahan's job in trouble? That would be the dumbest thing in the world. That would be the stupidest move an organization could make. You just can't give up on people. Is the expectation 100% of their seasons playoffs? Except for Tomlin, who has that on their resume? What head coach could say, "Oh yeah, I make the playoffs every year"? It's so stupid. But yeah, owners do dumb things because they're just regular people. They're worse than regular people. They're usually rich people who were born with money their whole lives, and they just have unrealistic expectations because they've never had to accomplish or work or do anything in their life. You know, self-made men, it's different. You know, the guy from the Dallas Mavericks or whatever. That'd be a cool owner because he's a self-made man, isn't he? I think he is. You know what I mean? He's the kind of guy that buys a small tequila company, and makes them a big success. You know what I mean? Wouldn't mind having him as an owner. But look, we need once we get the GM and coach, they'll figure it out. It's not impossible. We don't have no money. I want to say, by the way, it's not like because we have 60 million in dead cap that we have zero money. That's not true. There's money. Like, but we have a lot of empty spots that we have to fill, right? So Sherwood's got to take a chunk of it. Eccles got to take a chunk of it, unless you're going to let Eccles go. You got to pay a couple of safeties. We have no safeties, so you're going to have to pay them, right? Now, what would people forget is we could do contracts that you give a signing bonus. And people, but I don't want to do any huge names. Like, I'm okay doing that, like, conservatively to get a WR2, to get a really good safety. You could do a 4-year deal, signing bonus, voidable at the end kind of deal, void years, so you don't have to pay a lot next year. So that we can manipulate the cap a little bit, but you don't want to do it too much because we don't have a quarterback yet. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where when you finally have to pay the quarterback money, then you're New Orleans and everything else goes to shit. So you got to manage it somewhat responsibly, but obviously you can't go into the season, completely with holes. With like we're gonna have to pay some players. We're still gonna have some money. 60 million dead cap. There's still gonna be money, like 40, 50 million to spend to fill the holes. I think the Jets should hire Rex as coach and Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. Not sure about defensive coordinator. Not sure who's available. Well, Rex would take care of that. Maybe he'd hire his brother. We'd have the Rob Ryan. It wouldn't matter because it would be Rex's defense. Like, you don't have to worry about who the defensive coordinator is if Rex Ryan is the coach. You know what I mean? He'll take care of the defense anyway. He wouldn't hire him. Who would he hire as the defensive coordinator? Not sure. He'd find some position coach somewhere, some badass. Predictions. Where do you think Ulbrich works next year? I think Ulbrich is going to have to take a linebacker coach. I say he's not going to get a defensive coordinator job. My prediction is he's a linebacker coach. Like for Green Bay or the Niners, something like that. Linebacker coach. That's what Jeff Ulbrich is going to be. Robert Saleh will be a defensive coordinator for sure by next year. Ulbrich will be Saleh's staff somewhere. Yeah, that's right, because Saleh will be a defensive coordinator, and he'll hire Ulbrich as his linebacker coach. Oh, that's so sad. Maybe, I don't know who their defensive coordinator is. Maybe DeMarco Ryans hires Robert Saleh to be his defensive coordinator. That'd be interesting. Wild Wave, my guy. You're my guy, Wild Wave. You're my guy. My fucking guy. My fucking guy. You fucking guy. Anyway. Remember, tomorrow, 5 p.m., Jordan Travis. We're going to look at his film. We're going to see what he is, who he is. We're going to get to know him. But we talked to Ron Rivera. Rooney checklist, check. We're talking to how am I? I'm good. I'm good. I was sick for New Year's Eve. It sucked. I had to leave my friend's house a half an hour early. We walked home in the cold. 15 minutes to New Year's. I was throwing up. I got a stomach bug. I didn't eat. I ate a small little bagel yesterday, dry. That was my food of all yesterday. But I'm recovering now. I'm starting to feel better, so that's good. Got a trip coming up on the 8th. I'm heading to North Carolina. Be there for like 5 days, and then I'm going to D.C. for a few days. Yeah. Then they also talked to Lewis Reddick. They did. They interviewed Lewis Reddick for GM. He's not a very popular pick amongst the Jet fan base. So I don't know if I would expect to see him get hired or, it's early. It's early. We're going to be talking to a lot of guys. I'm very impatient. As soon as the problem is that Detroit's going to go, like if we're waiting on freaking anybody on the Detroit organization, whether it's an assistant GM or if it's Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn, if we're waiting on any of them, we're not going to be able to make a move forever because Detroit's going to go deep into the playoffs. It's going to be forever. And I want this to be over. So, Lewis Reddick is very intelligent and he has a lot of connection, they say. All right. Look, I'm not going to pretend. Everybody's got to pretend that they're an expert, right, Tigo? Everyone's got to act like they know. I don't know about these GMs. What do I know? I know how to hire a GM for an NFL football team? I mean, we're all going based on what? Oh, he worked for this team, and that was their record. We don't know. We don't know what their job was, what choices they had. We don't know. We really don't. So you don't know. Anybody we hire, we might hate them. They're going to hire a GM, and we're all going to be pissed off. Oh, bullshit, was so stupid. And then it'll be the best GM we ever hired. Or we're going to hire a GM and be all excited, and they're going to suck. Because that's what happens. Every time. Anyway, I got to go, guys. Gotta go. So take care of yourselves. Be safe. Have a wonderful new year. Have a wonderful 2025. I'm going to start doing a show again at some point. Once I get my schedule intact, I'll start doing not just a quarterback review show, but I'll come on like Monday nights or something at some point and do like an hour show. How's that sound? Sexy? All right, guys. Take care. This is one.